Hello, friends. Whoa! Isn't this awesome? This effect here in the chart, I've given it the name the Gates of Heaven. Now, interestingly, this exact pattern has repeated before in the chart, and it's repeated a handful of times, but I'm going to highlight for you 2 other times that it repeated that were pretty impressively distinctive, and I want to show you those. But first, let's talk about the current energies and what this means for these times. This is the previous chart to the one that we just looked at, and I wanted to highlight this chart. This is almost like a Harp effect, and I made this beautiful graphic because I felt like this was another divinely inspired download for us of energy. The nomination of ACB to the Supreme Court occurred right in here, in the middle. It's important for this reason. Irregardless of politics, there is a huge, big shift coming. That's what this chart says. And what I see, particularly with this Gates of Heaven image, is that it's going to be very positive. It's not that there might be some challenges in the near term. And here in the United States, we have an election coming in a few days. And there's a lot of anxiety around that on all sides of the spectrum. But what I'm telling you is that for this to occur right before the American election, it's very, very positive. And for any of you who are in concern and fear, what I wanted to show you is that this nomination, as many of you know, and confirmation, signify a major shift in American history. Now, this is not about politics, but just a short history lesson. From the 1960s until now, the Supreme Court in the United States had a particular composition. That was for 60 years. Now, suddenly, the composition has shifted. So it's a huge, huge move. And one of the reasons why this is so big and important for the world is that it's going to affect how laws are interpreted in this country. And this country is a leading light for other countries. It just is. Now, what I want to show you is something really interesting. Now, see, look here. Okay, do you see how this goes up into almost an arch effect? It looks very much like almost a geometric compass. The geometric compass is used for certain symbology, and I want to get away and step away from that for a second here, because a geometric compass is simply a tool of architecture. So you can clear the charge from a symbol, and here's how you do it. You claim it back. So you claim it for your personal use in alignment with divine law, in alignment with divine will through you, your own soul path. And you ask that the symbol be cleared of any energies that are not in alignment with your highest good, that are not in alignment with your specific signature of soul frequency. And poof, any spells, any intentions, anything from anyone else is removed. And you have the right to do that. As I've explained in other videos, you have that right because you're a living incarnated soul, a spark of the Creator, child of the Creator. I'm going to stick with the imagery interpretation here because it's so important and so impactful. So if you want to know more about the details of the chart, like what the different colors mean and stuff like that, I've got quite a few videos linked below. Every video I refer to in this video will be linked below. The thing about a geometric compass, okay, is it makes a circle. People have used this throughout time. I mean, the monks used this, okay, when they were doing their gorgeous illuminated drawings. So when it makes a circle, it takes into account all realities. Okay, a circle in a spiritual sense, it takes into account all realities. It really symbolizes the smallest particle and the biggest particle, because creation just repeats the same geometric patterns. And so for anyone who has any fear about these things, what I want to tell you is that this is the white resonance, celestial energy, a higher expanded energy coming through in this sort of communication with us. And it's surrounded by the green, which is supportive of humanity. I see the green resonance as being sort of one-to-one with human beings, and it supports us in our life force. And so this is all in alignment with the highest good. That's what I'm saying. That's what I see in the chart. Irregardless of politics, irregardless that the shift that this whole thing is a part of, without any comment on the exterior world, but just in general, I'm telling you, it's going to be okay. That's what I'm trying to let you know. That's what I see there. Okay, back to the gates of heaven. I called it the angel's harp. Here's that right there, okay? Now look at this. Let's go to the actual chart. Oh, before we do that, I want to show you one other amazing thing, and this ties in with the interpretation right here. Okay, check this out. This was so cool. Here's that. I called it the angel's harp, but here's this. Look at this. In the geomagnetics, you had 5 spikes. I showed you throughout time as this angel's harp form was being created in the Schumann resonance, what that looked like. And then you had this massive pull downward in the solar flare, so a pull into the sun. That occurred at this exact time. Amazing. And then you had 5 spikes occur right after and before the gates of heaven. So what I want to tell you is it's not just that we receive light from the sun. You had here the geomagnetics of our atmosphere of Earth and then repeated at the sun, the same 5-point pattern. Is that not fascinating? The solar system and the sun and the earth, it's like a living, breathing ecosystem. And it's the same thing with us and God, us and the Creator. Okay, we're not just sent here by God, but we can report back to the Creator. We can report back to the Creator. The Creator sees through our eyes and lives through our experience, in my view. So the earth can affect the sun. Did you ever think about that? Isn't that fascinating? Okay, so let's get back to the gates of heaven. Okay, so we had all the solar flares, and then what do you get? You get a gate. It's kind of this idea of going through temple doors, the doors to a sacred church, if you will. And then boom, like a bell. I mean, can you almost hear like, this incredible explosion of energy and really of divinity. And I want to show you why I call it the gates of heaven, because watch this. Does this not look like a gate? Look at that. Isn't it incredible? And it's just full of this white resonance. It's like a celestial type of energy, often a very supportive energy, helping humanity from higher dimensional spaces. And then you've got the green here, and then the red and yellow at the edges. Okay, now I wanted to talk to you about something. This is so cool. Let me show you when I first saw this image, and I'm going to tell you what I think it means. Woo! Check this out. Is this not intense, incredible, and gorgeous? This is the gates of heaven from 2018. It started on 11/11, okay, from the perspective of my part of the world, the United States. So here you go, 11/11, it starts, and then woo, it goes for almost 2 days, maybe a little bit more than 2 days even. Now, let me tell you something very special about 11/11/2018. And I'm going to show you, now this is news analysis, so I'm going to quote from the Post, the New York Post. This article came out at the end of November in 2018. Nobody knows why the earth just rang like a bell. This was just so fascinating. And this seismologist who actually focuses on unusual seismology said, I don't think I've seen anything like it. Goran Ekstrom. Now, here's what was really interesting about it. So this is how earthquakes normally go, okay? So first there's something inside the crust, and there's a first signal, right, a primary wave. Then there's a secondary wave, okay? And then there's the surface wave. So it comes up from within the earth, breaks through, and then it's on the surface. Okay, this didn't do that. Let me show you what it looked like. It was in the very low frequency range, which is the same range as the Schumann resonance. You see here, it was between 2 and 14 hertz. Okay, this is the person who first noticed this effect, Matariki Pax. And look at what this looked like. This was a wave, a tone like a bell heard round the world, almost like the earth rung was this description of various people involved in the scientific community. This is what the wave looked like. Isn't that cool? Look at that amazing pattern. Very, very fascinating. From a quantum science approach, I have things to say about the geometry of this pattern that I'm not going to say at the moment. But you know what's really interesting? Look at those lines. Did they remind you of anything? Oh, it's not in 2018. Hold on. Do they remind you of anything? Okay, let's get back to the story. I want to tell you a little bit more about 11/11/2018. This wave started in the island of Meru. If we look at the gematria, or we add the numbers associated with each letter of this word, for people who are looking at the energetic meaning of things, this is a process. This has become very popular in the past 3-ish years, but I learned it actually years ago. So this is something that's been in use for a very long time. Now, here's the interesting thing about the island where this tone, bell tone, heard around the world, starting 11/11/2018. This is the interesting thing about the gematria. It's a 9999. Every which way you look at the number, it's a 9. And what is a 9? It's the end of a cycle. Interestingly, the tone repeated. It was a wave that repeated every 17 seconds. Here was my interpretation at the time. What I felt was that this was a grand announcement. The opening of a curtain into a new era, where the good guys, whoever they are, were announcing that they had gained control of key technologies. Because in my view, now this is just me telling you what I feel happened, okay? And this is based on my intuitive interpretation, but also a bunch of research I've done that I'm not going to go into right now. What I thought happened. The good guys got control of key advanced technology. They used it to make an announcement. A tone rung out across the world. Okay? Pretty amazing, huh? But the thing is, it's not that the technology created the tone so much. It's that the technology was able to stimulate the harmonic, a harmonic of the earth that then rang across the earth and showed this beautiful divine pattern. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like this, okay? If I have a violin and I'm playing, I put the bow across and I put my finger at that exact spot where I get the harmonic on any one of the 4 strings. And it makes that gorgeous sound. The violin is the technology that was used to reveal that natural tone. That natural tone exists before and after the violin exists. It's present in our reality. But the violin is the technology by which it's revealed for the ear in that moment that the violin's playing. That's what I'm saying about this. I want to show you another thing. And this I want to show you because I've talked about this many times and now I can show it to you. So I've talked very often about how 31, it's very typical for the green frequency quality or the clearness to go up to 31. And I just wanted to show you that this is an example of where this is what the chart used to look like. Now in 2020, the green frequency has kind of been hiding a lot. And I think that that's been a protection for humanity because this really represents, in some ways, the health of humanity in my view. Okay, now let's go back. Oh, there's one other quick thing I wanted to show you. There was also a gate. Okay, before that tone as well. It was a much wider gate. Now, I want to show you another time when this rang. This is another key moment, and this was in the past year that the gates of heaven showed up. And this was a mini version of it, okay? And it showed up right before the end of the virus. Now, I explain this. I've got a couple of videos. They have the word karyotype. The current virus that was going around the world and that has gone around the world showed up on January 10th or 11th of 2020 in the Schumann chart. Here's how I interpreted this. This is like a karyotype image, but it was particleized. It looked like some advanced technology had been used to departiculate the virus, break it into the smallest components, and then render it ineffective. Okay, and so that happened on March 17th, 2020. Interestingly, It happened 2 hours. Okay, so this is the time in Tomsk. 2 hours later, right here at 1400, is when the most severe lockdown started in the United States in 6 counties in California. Basically, it was over by that point energetically. Now then that has to filter into the physical reality, okay? So isn't that fascinating? And that happened. So that to me showed a big, like it's a divine announcement, right? Before something amazing happens that is in our highest good. So here's the thing. When a virus ends, okay, or when you conquer a disease in the body, you can go through a healing crisis. And this is called the Herxheimer Effect. What's really interesting is this is in particular the case when an illness is caused by spirochetes. And you know what is so fascinating? There's links below. In the video about the hermit, there was a spirochete that came at the hermit in the Schumann resonance. There was an image of a hermit, which is a spiritual figure. And the hermit put up his lamp, and the lamp just particleized the spirochete. It was so fascinating. And so for this kind of theme to come up now about the Herxheimer effect, I thought that was so fascinating when I was studying this morning and saw that it works specifically like it's a big thing when you have a disease that's had a spirochete. Isn't that fascinating? So what happens is, okay, let me go back to the gates of heaven from today. With a Herxheimer effect, what this is when something that wasn't good for you in your body is dying off. It releases toxins, and those toxins can make you feel as bad or even sometimes worse than the thing you're recovering from. You feel like crap, okay, for a while, and this is often called a healing crisis. So you go through this healing crisis. So what I want to communicate with you right now in this idea of do not be afraid, because I know we're going into a tense time, and we've got the full moon on Halloween, which is a big day for various forces of darkness often to pull things. But at the same time, the forces of light are quite vibrant, okay? They're quite vibrant. And look what's come out before the full moon. And you know what the full moon is called? Fascinatingly enough, the hunter's moon. Isn't that fascinating? At any rate, what we are going through right now as a society is the Herxheimer effect applied to us as a society. It's like we're having these convulsions of violence, convulsions of fear, convulsions of anger, convulsions of, disassociation, convulsions of complete disruption in all of our societal business, education, family, like everything. So we're going through a healing crisis. Now, here's my inspiration for you, and this will end the video. Before I do this, I want to show you. What does this do for us energetically? Energetically, I want to show you what I feel that this Gates of Heaven effect does in the human energy field. I went through this information in a video called I Am the New Earth, and that's linked below. Okay, so if you can imagine the sun as the light of the soul, and here's a circle representing the human energy field, and then your body is in here. So here's the body inside the field. When the Gates of Heaven rings, this is amplified. Our connection with the divine is amplified. The Gates of Heaven helps to ring that and fill our energy field. Of course, the soul needs your permission to do this, to flow the light of God through your field, flow the light of the soul through the field. And I explained in the video, I Am the New Earth, and you can go and look at that, and I believe it's at a little after 19 minutes that I go through exactly how this works. But right now I'm just going to show you. Your field, sometimes it's full of past experience, it's full of negative energy, it's full of attachments, it's full of this, that, and the other thing. As we clear the field, we are able to have a more one-to-one connection with our true source, okay? Our true self, our true essence, to live that, to fully embody it, the light of God within us. I wanted to give you these Bible quotes as inspiration. And I thought it was so fascinating when I was researching it this morning that there's this particular quote, because we're talking about passing out of the old and into the new and going through a healing crisis. And that creates fear, right? Because we don't, we have a feeling like, what is going on? Everything's changing. But do not fear the king of Babylon, of whom you are afraid. Do not fear him, declares the Lord. For I am with you to save you and to deliver you from his hand. many people talk about the fact that we're in a spiritual war right now. And there are many people that say that the spiritual beings of darkness, that they tie back to certain aspects of ancient human civilizations, including Babylon. So do not fear these energies of darkness. Do not fear the king of Babylon. And here is a support. Okay, for I am with you to save you and to deliver you from his hand. Here it is, right here. I am with you to deliver you from his hand. Here's how it occurs. It occurs because we're able to fill ourselves up with the light of the living God through prayer, through choosing within the connection with that. And when you fill this up, okay, when you fill up your physical body's energy, your energy field, then none of these things can stand in the field anymore. It blows them out in a gentle way, although sometimes there's a healing crisis. Here's another one. I love this one. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy sword and thy staff, they comfort me. Friends, I had a miraculous moment with this psalm and a dramatic moment in my life. I used to travel to New York City quite a bit for work, and one day I got in the cab in New Jersey. It very quickly became clear that something was very wrong with him. As I looked at him, he looked at me again in the mirror. There's the angel bells. Because I was always intuitive, even when I was working in corporate. Suddenly I got the hit that this man had been a child soldier, and he had seen terrible, terrible things. And these things had put him in such a state that he was almost beside himself. Suddenly, the sound of angels broke through the tension in my body and in my mind. And I heard a chorus of angels singing, "For thou art with me, thy sword and staff, they comfort me." I heard the angels sing that from Psalm 23 over and over until I got to my hotel. I kept myself centered. I kept myself focused on the image of the hotel, knowing that I would get there safely. And, bless this man who was driving, because he had been through so much. I pray that the angels that comforted me also comforted him. Let me tell you something. Earth is a hard gig. You can be a high angel and come to earth and have one of the most challenging times. So bless each one of us, whether you're in fear or whether you're in the knowing that all is well. What I want to communicate to you today is that the divine is with us. God's got our back. He's leading us down the paths we're walking in our highest good. And from what I can see today, the outcome is secure.